Oh, hello. Welcome back. CorgiXP here, and today we're going to be showing you 35 plus build ideas for the shelving in Minecraft. Some of these builds are inspired by other wonderful builders, so please check the description below for links to them as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. So, we start with our lovely standard chair using plain old oak, and the backdrop of the shelves just looks really nice. They look really great as an armrest, so you can just create a very basic chair with them. Same thing for like a sofa. They're great as armrests or a backdrop to that sofa, and it just looks really neat, really clean, rather than literally just keeping the oak stairs as the sofa itself. So just using it as trim, using it as backdrops works really nicely. And then of course your lovely standard chair slash stool with the bamboo, rather than using the bamboo trapdoor, which a lot of people, use with this kind of like stool setup. You can use the shelf now, which has like a nicer indent to it. It feels stronger, feels more supported. And if you want people to actually sit in it, you can actually use the wool right on top of it, so they actually sit on it rather than like shift and fall down through the scaffolding. Nice little bench. With the spruce one, it has kind of like this nice a nailed look to it, similar to the trapdoors. So when you place the shelves back together like this, it gives it like that extra kind of like support look, which looks really cool. So you can make a simple table design with it rather than using, a stair or a fence post, something that looks really flimsy. You can now get that extra support with the backside shelving. And then of course, nice little, island table with the redstone powered shelves, which kind of makes it look like a drawer depending on what item you put, into the center of it. On Java, what happens is any item that you put in it other than a certain few right now get kind of like condensed. So that's why I've been using these pale oak trapdoors for it. There's been recommendations on Bedrock to use end rods, candles, stuff like that. But in Java right now, it condenses the size of those. So the end rods looks way too thin. The candles look kind of iffy. So that's why I've been using pale oak trapdoors for drawers. I'm hoping that they decide to fix that. I'm not quite sure. And then I have updated our little lamp look. I'll show you how to create this a little bit later on. So we have a nice little armor stand slash storage cabinet, which is super simple. Just stacked up shelving, keeping it open. Looks really nice with the extra indent, at the top corners. Gives it a little bit more detail. And you have a nice little kind of art slash, desk look right here with the different patterns of the back-to-back shelving, the signs, and it just looks really nice, especially the acacia look. It gives it like a nice, not necessarily modern feel, but like a welcoming, art, definitely something you would want to put, in your home. Nice little shelving unit with the cherry and pale oak. The pale oak and cherry work really well together, especially since a lot of the cherry has kind of like the white, undertones, and whereas the pale oak shelving has kind of like the pink-ish undertones. So it works really well together as kind of like the back support for the wall, and then the, cherry as the actual like, outside slash shelf itself. When paired with, a modern type look, go for the darker shelving. So for example, the dark oak, the mangrove, anything darker is going to pair well with the quartz or like a modern type building, especially as wall trim, like on the bottom or as a base. Whereas the pale oak, birch, any of the lighter ones that kind of give you like a kind of not a monotone per se, but a singular color, kind of like this, blends really well with a modern look. So we have a nice little, fireplace right here. Again, as I mentioned in Java, notice how the different items kind of like condense in size. So it makes it very difficult to kind of make like a good patterned variation. Whereas in Bedrock, let's say that block right there would actually be a little bit bigger. The slab would be a little bit bigger. So it actually can kind of connect together much better than Java currently does. So in the fireplace here, where you have kind of like that black line, on like a regular fireplace, for right now, I have to use the black glass panes powered by, Redstone to give it the backdrop feel rather than the three, slots. And that's the best I could think of, for Java. If you guys can think of anything else, feel free to let me know. But that's the best idea I came up with for now until they hopefully fix that or this. Let's move on. So we have a nice little bathtub design, same thing, using the mangrove as the base for your kind of like modern feel, and then using the pale oak as your wall trim. And same thing, I wanted kind of like a pattern to extend throughout the wall. So unfortunately, since again Java remains condensing the size of different items, we decided to use the glass panes, to do this. If they increase sizes, you could potentially use like a yellow flower, the sunflower, anything like that to give, some nice texture or variation as well. So instead of just yellow glass panes across the whole thing, you could put, sunflower like every other, like little divot right there. That would look kind of nice. Your standard bathtub, or not bathtub, sorry, toilet. Using this, luckily the gray kind of concrete in these, they don't condense as much as other blocks, so you can still use that as a handle rather than using the iron trapdoor, pale oak trapdoor. Nice little toilet. And then here's one of the builds that was inspired by another builder, links down below. And this is a nice little kitchen / bathroom sink, wherever you want to put it. Most likely a bathroom. Towel racks, shelving for your, toothbrush, bottle, water, whatever. Little cups as the pots. And then of course the redstone powered every other shelf. So it kind of has this cool little like design to it rather than just keeping everything, as is, similar to this. Then you have a nice little kitchen counter island type situation. Again, redstone power using the trapdoor as a handle. And birch and spruce, especially the spruce trapdoors and birch like wood, has a really nice tone to it and contrast. So here's a nice little kitchen table. Another build inspired by someone else, your kitchen counter. Again, using birch, because the birch shelving also kind of works as, a modern type feel. It just contrasts with the quartz just really nicely, in my opinion. Same thing, redstone powered for the drawer, redstone power for, just kind of like a different design versus just straight up like shelving, and of course straight up shelving. Little wine rack design. So rather than using like pure, trap doors, you can now use the walls or shelves and actually put like different items in there, so it actually looks like wine bottles are there. And then of course just simple backdrop. For bedding, you can make like a master bed with trim using the darker shelves as I mentioned before, and same thing, redstone powered, so you can kind of have like a difference and variety, you know, in the look, rather than just keeping straight up shelf, 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 shelf. And then a variation of kind of like bed ideas. So you have kind of like this little storage room underneath the first bed right here, and then another version of bunk beds. Who doesn't love bunk beds? I know I do. So you gotta include the standard bunk bed. All right, let's move on. So another build inspired by other people, just planters pretty much. So you can create these as planters, use the redstone power trick to have kind of like just a standard design, you know, in your base. Otherwise just keep it, you know, as is. The lighter ones would be preferable in my opinion as kind of like planters, especially for outside. If you're inside, I would recommend the darker ones as mentioned, because anything inside, especially if you go like modern or like inside a home, you're gonna tend to favor like these darker type colors. For these outside ones, you want to kind of aim towards, you know, lighter, because most of the time, you know, they're going to be lighter, you know, in general. It's really up to you, but these are just kind of a few different ideas. So again, redstone powered, regular, you know, with like a mini flower pattern, regular with no pattern, just as is, or you can just redstone power the entire thing. So it's really up to you how you want to do it. You could like, you know, redstone power, let's say just this one, and leave these two as shelves for, you know, more of that variety. Again, totally up to you. Different pillar variations. So again, you can do, you know, the base of a darker color, or you can just go pure, you know, straight, you know, the pale oak white, up to you. Or again, same thing, redstone power for a different variation of that base. You can get rid of the trapdoors for less of a, you know, indented feel if you want, and just go purely base. Totally, again, up to you. What I found kind of cool about these is you can actually make super easy archways / door entrances. So rather than flush doors similar to this build right here, which I'll show you in a minute, you can actually have like an outdented door, which is really, really cool. So rather than just going up to the wall and opening the door, you can now actually have this really cool like outsetting door. So like I would consider like a firehouse could have one, a school, you know, could have one, you know, something like that. And then just break up the different coloring if you wanted to for the school one or the fire one. Since firehouses tend to be, you know, similar color, you can just keep it, you know, as is. So these are just kind of like two different variations of, you know, where you could put like an outsetting door rather than just keeping everything flat. With the shelving, they act really nicely as archways, because rather than a full like, you know, steady and sharp edge, since they do jut out just a little bit more than trapdoors but not as much as steps, you now have like this cleaner, you know, arc rather than it being so sharp. So using these in like an arc just works out really, really, you know, nicely. They can work as bridges, like bridge handles / sides. So I literally just did, you know, the simple stack method and just made it as a bridge outline. You can use them as its own bridge supporter. I'm using the jungle ones right here to kind of give it that like oxidization feel to it, where the wood over time kind of like, you know, dissipates because of the water. Or you can, you know, use it as a base with other blocks such as, you know, the stone, to give it an actual like, you know, support beam, you know, type feel. So bridges, they work out nicely for as well. And then some more ideas, just a very simple garden table. I had to include everything. Again, I don't like bamboo. Don't hate me. I just don't like the look of it. I don't like the feel of it. Even the trapdoors just don't really say anything much to me, honestly. But, you know, just a very simple, you know, garden table. You could, again, do the redstone trick by powering, you know, these like corner ones if you wanted to vary up, you know, the look of it. But I decided not to because, again, very limited bamboo. But that's just an idea. You can use it for fountain. For this one, I kept it to the darker, you know, base and bases, and then gave it a lighter feel at the top. So rather than just using it, you know, for shelving, again, you know, you can really use these for bases to just give it that extra kind of like detail, that extra support, and it just looks really, really nice. It changes the color variation a little bit, and rather than this fountain being pure stone, you just now have like a better look and feel to it. You can use them, again, supports. You can use them as like beams for, you know, hanging bench swings. You can use them for lamp posts as, again, you know, supports, helping with the light, you know, stuff like that. So it's not just flat up trapdoors use, which a lot of people do. So it just has so many uses. I love these shelves. Or, of course, they can just purely be used as shelves. So let's say you walk into a store, literally just use them as shelves. I mean, why not? Because they're shelves. Anyway, on. You can use them as, like, again, this cute little, you know, archway entrance. You can use them as fencing or like a little, you know, outdoor garden. It looks really, really nice. You can keep it different colors. You can keep it singular color. You could literally just use oak if you wanted to. Like, just change everything to oak and go pure oak for fencing. Similar to the bridge, you can make like an outside patio, railing, stuff like that. So you see someone's house, you see their patio outside, and just like with different variations, different like back-to-back methods, you just have this nice little porch fence now. Super nice. You can use them for windows rather than the simple, you know, trapdoor. You can now make fancy windows. You can use this as kind of like a wall pattern to the next window and just kind of like keep repeating it. Looks super nice. And then two fun little things. You can make an arcade machine, which is kind of cute. You can make a pool table with it, which is super nice. So as you can see, there are so many uses for these shelves. I hope you enjoyed it. See you next time. Bye bye.